Names. What is a name? Why do names matter? What is the whole purpose of it? A name, simply put, is the distinguishing factor between one thing and another. There's two people. One is called A, the other is B. They're both human beings. What is a human being? A human being is a name given to a kind of creature to distinguish that from another. Monkeys, dogs, zebras, names. What is a creature? It is a name given to an organism that falls into a certain type of being to distinguish the creature from, let's say, the plant and the rock. Everything distinguishable and distinct has a name. As a matter of fact, words themselves have names. Think about it. When you speak, you don't just say verb, noun, verb, but rather you give the certain name of the noun and the verb. And more so, the words noun and verb in themselves are the names of the category of word that you are using. Everything is a name. And in fact, in the scripture, the word of the Creator, this very fact is portrayed all throughout. If you think about it, what was the first job, the first task given to Adam, which was the name given to this being, Adam, which that is a whole sermon on what is the meaning of that name, but nevertheless, he was given the title, the name Adam. And his job was to do what? Name the animals. To distinguish between this and that, all the living creatures. What's the difference? This is a zebra, this is a giraffe, this is elephant. Obviously, he wasn't speaking English, but the meaning remains the same. Giving names to distinguish what is the distinct factor. And that thing, that principle, really goes all throughout creation, from the micro to the macro. If you go down to the smallest unit we know, well, atoms, right? What are they made of? You could just say matter, but that is a general term. What is the name of this type of matter? You got protons, neutrons, electron. Each one named after its characteristic to distinguish between one and another. A distinguishing factor. In Vayikra, Leviticus chapter 10, the Lord said specifically, after the sons of Aharon died, in verse 8 and 9, and then verse 10, he says, distinguish between the holy and the common, between the unclean and the clean. The Lord is very precise and very careful about this fact, to be able to distinguish. In Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 19, same thing. Adonai says, if you return, if I bring you back, you will stand before me. If you separate the precious from the base, you will be my spokesman. Do you see this recurring theme here? From the very beginning to the very end, the Lord is about distinction, separation. They're not the same. 6 days are common, the seventh day is holy. 6 days are base. The 7th day is precious, if you want to make that reference to Jeremiah 15. It is all about names because names give distinction between things that otherwise would not have such distinct elements and attributes. We live in a world made of matter. Some would say it is an electric universe made of electricity, because everything is energy. Every form of matter is really made of energy, and obviously energy is made of energy. So what's the difference? The difference is it's not the same. Even though everything is made of atoms, the separation happens by the attributing factor of a name and a purpose. Where does the chair ends and my body begins? If you just look at it at the micro level, all you see is atoms. Sure, there are a few connecting particles for the atoms and they form molecules, but really there's nothing to it. Most of an atom is empty space anyway. The vast majority of an atom is just space. And then you got the space between the space. And yet you could very easily define the line between the chair and me. Not to mention the lines within me, between the leg and the stomach, between one finger and another. We have names for each one of those body parts. You got the forearm, you got the bicep, the tricep, the quads. We have names for everything because that is what is the distinguishing factor. And when two people have the same name, my name is Guy, there's another guy called Guy. So we have a last name. Which family do you come from? And then which tribe does that family belong to? Which nation does that tribe belong to? Now within the world of humans, right, within our understanding, nations is as far as we go as to divide, but then nations go back to species. Well, we're human beings. Now we are separate from the other creatures. So you can see how the names have such a significant role in distinguishing one thing from another, to create separation. And that really is the story of creation. The Lord made the heavens and the earth, namely the earth, not a, but the specific earth, this one. And He separated the darkness from the light. He separated the waters from the waters. Some water in the Shamayim above, some waters below. The separation between the land and the water. So that there is a distinction, they're not the same. And isn't that interesting that deep down in our subconscious, we all pretty much know this, right? Because you give names to everything, really, everything you care about. You give names to your cat. You got 500 cats, but each one has a different name, so you can distinguish one cat from another. We have cities. Each city has a name. We have streets within the cities. Each street has a name. And by the way, for that matter, numbers can be used as names too. Numbers are names. First street, second street, number 2, number 3, number 500. Right? You go to the DMV, they give you a number. Number 16, go to clerk number 3. Go to checkout number 4. Numbers are names. They distinguish between one thing and another. So we all get this to some degree. And yet, when it comes to the one thing that is absolutely, completely, without a shadow of a doubt, is separate, distinct, set apart from every other thing that is, you do not give it a name. And that, of course, is the Lord Himself, the Creator. The one and only, not one of many, but one of none. None beside him, none before him, none after. Him alone, the Lord. And he's the one you refer to in a general term, higher power, energy, the cosmos. He is the only one that deserves a name because he is different and distinct from every other thing. There is only one God. And the word God, by the way, is not the name, it's just a title that means kind of supreme immortal being. That's really what God means in the English language. In the Hebrew, it's Elohim, which again is not a name but a title. And yet he has given us a name. When Moshe went to the burning bush, he said, "Who shall I say sent me? What name should I give them so that they know who sent me?" And the Lord kind of mocks the question. He's like, well, what do you mean who? It is just me. Eheye, asher eheye. There is only me. Eheye in Hebrew is a very interesting word because the most common interpretation of it is singular, future tense form of be. Ani, meaning I, eheye, I will be. But the Lord is. Meaning, I am that I am, I will be whom I will be. I am the only one. Eheye asher eheye. It is just me. And then he says, well, tell them that this name sent them. Because the Lord can refer to himself by a name that we cannot refer to him by. Because it is a first person verb. You cannot say eheye or you will be talking about yourself. And that is where the name, the holy name that we don't we don't utter and pronounce publicly except for when we say a blessing. Because it is such a holy name, we don't pronounce it. People that have the reverence, we simply spell it out. We say Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. Those are the letters that make up the name. And again, a name, what is? It is the attributes, the description of who he is. Because those letters, Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey, is a compilation of past tense, present tense, and future tense of I am. Meaning, I was, I am, and I will be. That is the name, Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. I'm spelling it out for you, I'm not pronouncing it. But that is the name of the only one, the eternal one. The one who himself is life. He is the Lord, there is none but him. It is just him. And that is the whole purpose of Israel. What was their role? They were a set-apart nation. He said, I called you by name. The Lord uses that phrase many times. He calls the prophet by name. Shmuel. He called Samuel, right? Samuel was like, who did you call me, Eli? Eli is like, no, it's the Lord. He's calling you. He said that to Israel, I called you by name. You are my servant. I called you by name. The Lord uses names. Very specific, the names. When Yeshua was here, what did he say to Lazarus? Lazarus, get up. Talita, kum. Uses the name. Because the power is in the name. That is the distinguishing factor between one thing and another. Names, numbers, again, they're synonymous when you refer to them as a distinguishing factor. Every word is a name. But the Lord is the only name that is above all name. That is the whole point. Yeshua, the name above all name. Well, the name given unto men to be above all name. Because like I said, Yod Hei Vav Hei is such a power. We do not use it in common speech out of reverence for the Lord, the creator of life itself. He holds the universe in the palm of his hand. The fear of YHVH is the beginning of wisdom. It is just the starting point where you realize who the Creator is, distinguished specifically by name. He is not just a. He's not one of many, like I said. People say, oh, Elohim, it doesn't matter. It does. His name is not the Muslim God. They are not the same. They have a different name, and with that name comes different attributes. They are not the same. The God of Islam is not the one that was, is, and is to come. But the Lord, and when I say the Lord, again, it is reference to the specific, the one and only Adonai, so that you know who I am talking about. Remember what he told Moshe, by my name YHVH, I was not known to your fathers Abraham. In Iyov, the most commonly used description of the Creator is El Shaddai, meaning the power that provides. They knew who they were referring to, but did not know how to refer to him by name. This great power of provision and creation, that's what El Shaddai means. Hagar said, El Roi, the power that sees me. El is a generic form, it is not the name, it is a title. You can have many El. That's why in Spanish they use El a lot, it comes from the Hebrew. El, El, El. You know how languages mutate and change from one generation to another. But it is the power and understanding of the name. And that's why names matter. Because they are not the same. How would you distinguish? The Lord is not higher power. Be careful. He's not just a random thing out and about that you can just say a generic prayer. No, he has a name. And to that name there is one way. One way of approaching. And that is the name Yeshua. Not just a Yeshua, any Yeshua, but the Yeshua from Nazareth. The one who has given himself as atonement for mankind. The kinsman redeemer. The one who went and preached in Jerusalem and was crucified by the Sanhedrin, the religious leaders. Everything is by name. And you have to know this because it matters. It matters. It makes a difference. The Lord said in the prophets about the day of the Lord, the end of days, he said, even now, anyone calling on the name of YHVH will be saved. Who are you calling on? Oh, universe. Oh, energy. Oh, higher power. No. Anyone calling on the name of YHVH. Because the power is in that name. That holy, set apart, distinct name. There is none like him. There is power in that name. The eternal one. The King of kings, the Lord of lords. There is only one. You have to understand that. You give names to everything else, but everything else is irrelevant, insignificant in relation, in comparison to the only one that matters. Only one. Adonai. Elohim. Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. The Lord.